Hello and welcome to World Talks on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Cato. Today we are in Sopot at the European Financial Congress, and we're going to be talking about business investment in Ukraine. And I have the pleasure of speaking to Piotr Mietkowski, Managing Director of Investment Banking in Central and Eastern Europe at BNP Paribas, and also on the Supervisory Board of BNP Paribas in Ukraine. Hello, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
So, obviously we know the Poles are supporting Ukraine throughout the entirety of the war, of the Russian aggression, and that's one aspect of this issue. Reconstructing Ukraine is another one, and that's something that everyone is ready to get going on. But setting up businesses and running them is an entirely different matter, and that's what we want to talk about today. And I wanted to touch upon an angle that perhaps is a little bit controversial, perhaps a little bit taboo, but we hear of the fact that perhaps Poles are a little bit apprehensive, maybe not so keen. And I wanted to ask you, because you have a lot of insight into that matter, what is the situation when it comes to setting up businesses and also running them in Ukraine? Because whenever we look up this issue, when we speak to various members of various organizations, the idea is the Poles have been investing in Ukraine. They're very keen to invest in Ukraine, regardless of the fact of whether the war actually ends this year.
I think they're very keen to investing in Ukraine. The only question is when. So Poles have been operating in Ukraine. Polish companies have been fairly active. I mean, not more or less than somebody else, but there is geographic proximity, so very natural. That was a big market, import, export, and fairly important operating market for Polish companies. Now, I would probably challenge the question whether somebody is investing in Ukraine today. Ukraine is unfortunately a country in war, and for many business owners, I think the idea of building a factory or a warehouse or even sending people to Ukraine might be challenged. I think the Polish companies are very keen on going to Ukraine once war will end. And probably here's the important question is what means the war ending? So if it is some kind of, nice peace.
A ceasefire.
If it's a ceasefire and a clear peace and no more bombs, I think we're going to see Polish companies, and for the matter, we'll see a lot of European, American, and Asian companies moving to Ukraine. If it is a peace that it's, no more bombs for the time being, but you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, probably the current apprehension might still remain in place. But when I'm talking to Polish companies, I see a lot of questions, a lot of debates. They're looking at what they can do, where they can invest, how to operate business in Ukraine. Now, if we do a kind of a step back, Polish companies were always active in Ukraine, but again, they were not investing a lot. And we can ask the question, why? And I think there were a certain number of problems of business environment in Ukraine. Red tape was the one, certain stability of regulatory regime was another, corruption was always there. None of that per se have disappeared throughout the war, thanks to the war, unfortunately. However, I think Ukrainian side is working very hard on that. The needs for investment post-war are tremendous, and they need to create an environment for this needs to be able to face them. This environment implies, among other things, getting rid of corruption, getting rid of red tape or reducing the red tape, and creating stable regulatory regime. If you look at the recent news, the satisfactory conclusion a few days ago of, I think it's an awful name, 8 review of extended facility fund was positive, and this 8 review of IMF, sorry, and this 8 review goes very much towards reforms.
So does that mean that there has been some progress made throughout the war?
Well, IMF concluded that had been some progress made, and that progress is made continually. As the progress made, next tranches of the 15 billion fund are being released. So Ukraine is going right way. Is it enough? Is it enough for people to start investing? Well, we will see that after the war. We'll say that once we have some form of peace agreement.
But regardless of what is happening right now, whether there is any kind of interest in investing right now, as you say. What kind of businesses are in Ukraine right now when it comes to Poland?
Listen, I think pretty much the same that were investing. The people were investing in the areas of strength of Ukraine and where Poland can also bring something. I think in agro sector you had a lot of investment, food transformation. You had investment or operations. Sorry, let me be very precise. IT. I think those are the ones where we have seen the Polish companies, but those are not exactly the same that will be needed in a post-war Ukraine environment. You have seen plenty of figures on what is assessment of needs for investment in Ukraine. I think one of those figures was 520 billion, and I think we are in a little bit abstract figures anyhow. But when we are talking about 500 billion, 520 billion, a lot of that goes into infrastructure. A lot of that goes into energy transition and energy production. Full stop. Don't forget that 50% of energy production for Ukraine has been destroyed, and there will be no reconstruction in any way, shape, or form if part of this energy production is not being restored. So that's where the companies will need to invest. Those will be Polish companies, but those will be companies from all around the world and all around Europe.
I saw a figure of 800 million euros, where this is just Polish entrepreneurs allegedly. They were investing and building businesses prior to the war and then throughout the war. Just from my non-expert's perception, that is a very big figure. I don't know how you interpret that.
Well, that's funny. I was about to say that's a very small figure. Mm-hmm. So it is a quantum. I mean, I have no idea how realistic that figure is, how true that figure is. But 800 million for investment in a country that's just across the border in a whole period prior to the war and throughout the war doesn't seem to me like a very very high figure. Those are numerous small investments spread throughout across the economy. Again, there are some small infrastructure projects, some agro, some food transformation, those are not single big projects that we're talking about here.
Do you think that this idea of Polish enthusiasm of investing, building businesses in Ukraine, do you think that it's a little bit overblown, maybe misinterpreted, a little bit projected?
I think that geography and geographical proximity, it's a great starting point. That's absolutely not enough. That's just a starting point for something. In order to create a competitive advantage, you need much more than that. I do believe that Polish companies are very well positioned for the post-war reconstruction, post-effort. There is a cultural proximity. There is maybe better understanding of local environment, better understanding of the language. Let's not forget that there are over 3 million of Ukrainians that have moved to Poland and are working for Polish companies, and some of them may move back and may somehow work for Ukrainian subsidiaries of Polish companies that are working for right now. So I think geographical proximity, it's a strength, but it's not enough. I think another thing, and that's also very important when we talk about the Polish companies, we are referring to companies that are operating out of Poland, but often those may be subsidiaries of foreign companies in Poland. So you have a very strong presence of German, French, Italian, Spanish, you name it, companies, a lot of Spanish construction companies or French construction companies operating in Poland. And I think once the war will be over, those companies will be very active in Ukraine. So for me, those are Polish companies because it's the Polish, it's a Polish incorporated company, even if it belongs to Italian, German, or Spanish shareholder. And I think those companies will be in a perfect position to benefit from post-war reconstruction. I mean, let me make maybe a very cynical comment. If Germany, Netherlands, or Spain will dedicate 1, 2, or 3 billion or tens of billions, whatever, for reconstruction of Ukraine, in a very cynical matter, I don't think that this money will suddenly move to Ukraine. It will be spent in Ukraine to the benefit of Ukrainian companies. Part of it will be. But this money most likely will benefit, which order I said, French, German, or Spanish companies, that will do something in Ukraine. And what is the best way for French, German, Spanish companies to do something in Ukraine? That to do out of the subsidiaries just across the border, so from Poland. So I think the big part of this, Polish operations in Ukraine will go through multinational companies operating here or operating out of Czech Republic, Romania, Hungary, and few other countries.
There is the EU-Ukraine Facility Fund, which is 50 billion euros. Some countries have made use of it. I'm not sure that Poland has actually signed up and fulfilled all the paperwork in order for investors, for instance, to make full use of it. Do you think that the EU needs to actually set up these various lending facilities in order to incentivize investors to actually go into Ukraine and start, setting up businesses, for instance, to actually get to work there? Otherwise, it wouldn't happen.
Well, listen, I think those are very important elements. I think it's great that those funds exist. I think the big issue today is that there is still lack, or at least from investor perspective, the perception of lack. I think there is lack of what I would probably call a one-stop shop. Because there are a number of funds. You have referred to EU one, there is Japan UN fund, there is the American funds in every single country. By the way, in Poland you have a lot of various initiatives, a lot of various funds. But if you put yourself in the shoes of potential investor or potential entrepreneur, I'm afraid he doesn't really know where to go. He's not really able to perfectly use those different forms because he doesn't know where, how to fulfill the paperwork, which parts are for what. So I think this one-stop shop is something that's needed. And from what I understand, there is a strong recognition on Ukrainian side, not only on Ukrainian side, that there's necessity for such a one-stop shop. So I think that's a crucial element in order to get people to invest in, to have access to those funds.
And from the bank's perspective, are they keen to lend to support Ukraine?
Well, listen, I think the banks have a fiduciary duty to the shareholders and have the duty of care of the balance sheet of the capital. So it's not so much if the banks are ready to lend. I mean, it's a business for banks to lend. So in order to lend, bank needs to have across viable projects with properly functioning, with the right business plan across. So I think once we will see those projects, yes, I think the banks are ready to lend. And because you asked this question, I mean, let me say what for me would be the most important in order for financial sector to develop lending capacities, the lending credit action towards Ukrainian corporates or Ukrainian projects. It's to have in place appropriate insurance schemes, So you have some of them. There are individual programs. There's a MEGA program, if I remember correctly. There are a few others, but I think insurance scheme, the first loss guarantees, and this kind of projects are absolutely critical in order for the banks to deploy the balance sheets in Ukraine. But what is most important is, we need peace, we need ceasefire, and we need bombs to stop falling for the people for the entrepreneur to be willing to develop the project and for the banks to be able to finance those projects.
So in short, the answer is no.
Well, in short, the answer is banks are looking forward towards the ability of
the future.
Doing that. Listen, we do have a bank in Ukraine. We are operating in Ukraine on a daily basis, and we have been operating on a daily basis throughout the crisis, supporting individual clients, corporate clients, large and small enterprises. So we do operate there, and so are other banks in the country. But if we are talking about what's next, I think for next, I try to give you the couple of elements, the whole set of insurance schemes and ceasefire and viable projects. If we don't have viable projects, the lending will not happen.
It's understandable. So there was a survey commissioned by Atlantic Contract. They surveyed 500 Polish firms, and 29% said they wanted to invest in Poland, even in Ukraine, even if the war doesn't end in 2025. 21% said that they don't want to invest in Ukraine if the war doesn't end in 2025. So we're going back a little bit to the beginning of our conversation, but in my mind, that's not a huge difference, actually. It's a bit half-half almost.
I don't know the survey, but I mean, I would say, listen, there were a number of companies even before the war that were not operating in Ukraine, were not investing in Ukraine. Again, Ukraine is just one of the markets, and I think they are Polish companies that want to invest in Ukraine or in Germany. There will be as many, if not more, that don't want to do it because they're focused either on different industries or different markets. So I'm not somehow shocked by the figures. If anything, I would be positively surprised, if I may use the word, by the figure that there is 29%, you said, of the companies that are willing to invest in Ukraine, even if the war doesn't end. So I think I would rather, that's for me, it's a very positive figure. And I think it's a higher figure than the one I would have expected.
Oh, okay. And then I just wanted to ask about, obviously Ukraine will benefit from Polish activity in their country. How will Poland benefit from all this investment?
So I think that question has several layers. I think, first of all, Poland benefits from stable Ukraine across the border, so to say, and I think that's a very
number one priority.
That's a number one priority. But listen, Ukraine is a very big market. If you look at the population in this definition of CE that would take Ukraine in, it is one of the largest, with Poland and Romania, one of the largest market there. So it's a very big population. I think the growth story of CE, and at least growth story of CE, also very much viewed from outside, is the one about the catch-up with EU averages. So there is even more catch-up to be done in Ukraine. So that's another way for Poland and Polish companies to benefit from. And the last one, irrespectively whether the needs of investment are 500 billion, 600 billion, 100 billion. I think we are in at the theoretical levels. I mean, with such a quantum of money spent, I think by definition, companies operating there will benefit from that. So I think for Poland, it is a very close neighboring market where companies should be present. I'm not surprised that they won't.
Okay. Piotr Mietkowski, Managing Director of Investment Banking CE at BNP Paribas, and also on the Supervisory Board of BNP Paribas Ukraine. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been great.
Thank you very much for having me.
And this brings us to the end of this episode of World Talks. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for more exclusive interviews on TVP World. Goodbye.